When I was just a little panda, I loved Fox Kids, Power Rangers, Beyblade, heck, I could even tolerate Metabots. But there's always that one show that ruins it for the rest, and in my case, it was Spider-Man Unlimited. Don't get me wrong, I loved Spider-Man, I still do, and I've enjoyed most of his shows over the years. But this was something else. I mean, could you even call it Spider-Man? The guy wore a cape, none of the classic characters like Mary Jane or Harry Osborn showed up, and the villains looked like something out of Zootopia. I knew it would have a weird backstory, but after doing some digging, I found out the story of how this show came to be is much weirder than I expected. Hey there, I'm Dr. Panda, the only panda to ever host Jeopardy! And in this video, we're diving into the most low-budget show our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man has ever had. What was the story? What was the original premise of the show, and why did Marvel reject it? And why was it so low budget? Turns out, the show was meant to be bad from the start. In fact, it was a necessary sacrifice. Stick around to find out why. This is the story of the most criticized and poorly received Spider-Man show of all time. Let's get into it. Spider-Man Unlimited was produced by Saban Entertainment for Fox Kids back in 1999, and its plot was pretty different from anything we'd seen from Spidey before. It all kicks off when J. Jonah Jameson's son is about to take off on a space mission to counter Earth, a mysterious planet that's basically a duplicate of Earth, sitting on the exact opposite side of the sun. Right before launch, Venom and Carnage sneak onto the shuttle, so Spider-Man jumps on board to stop them in the only scene in the entire series where we'll see him wear his classic suit. He ends up falling off the shuttle and it takes off without him. So, Spidey gets his hands on some Reed Richards nanotech, makes himself a brand new suit, and blasts off to counter Earth. That's the in-universe explanation anyway. But there's an actual reason he wears a new suit. Saban Entertainment wasn't allowed to use the classic Spider-Man costume in this show, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. When Spidey gets to this new planet, things get weird. Counter-Earth is ruled by a guy called the High Evolutionary, and his enforcers are the Bestials, genetic hybrids of animals and humans who dominate the planet, while regular humans have been relegated to second-class citizens. And where's Jameson? He joined a gang, sort of. On this planet, there's a group of human rebels fighting for freedom, and Jameson's teamed up with them. Jameson refuses to go back to Earth until the Bestials are defeated, so Spidey decides to stay too and join the fight against the High Evolutionary. That's basically the premise. If it sounds overcomplicated and nothing like traditional Spider-Man, well, there's a reason for that. A reason that involves Tobey Maguire, but we'll get to that in a bit. The show had a dark, futuristic aesthetic that was bold, but it never really grabbed me. I always felt it tried to make so many different elements that it lost what makes Spider-Man so compelling and relatable. It feels like the producers threw Star Wars, Batman Beyond, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles into a blender, and they gave us whatever came out of that mix. And then you've got a lizard version of the Green Goblin. The show ran for just 13 episodes before being cancelled. Though it felt like there were hundreds because every time I turned on Fox Kids, this show was always on, for my own disgrace. And it ended on a cliffhanger that never got resolved. Remember this because it will be very important later. I mean the cliffhanger thing, not me always stumbling upon the show on Fox Kids. Most of the characters are pretty flat, except the main villain, High Evolutionary. Considering Spider-Man has one of the most iconic villain rosters in the comics, the fact that they went with a pretty obscure Marvel baddie must mean this guy's really memorable, right? Well, kinda. I never thought his design was anything special, but after revisiting the show, I'll admit his motivations were at least somewhat interesting. He left Earth to start fresh on Counter-Earth. Apparently in this series, anyone can travel from Earth to Counter-Earth like it's just crossing the border between France and Belgium. But when he got there, he realized the humans were just as destructive as the ones back home. So he decided to genetically engineer a superior species called Bestials, but he didn't stop there. He literally split New York City in half, vertically. The inferior human race lived at the bottom, while Bestials ruled high above the streets. It's not exactly mind-blowing, but hey, at least they gave the villain some depth instead of just making him a purposeless bad guy. It's also worth talking about this version of the Green Goblin. He's a resident of Counter-Earth and an ally of a group of Bestials who were ejected by High Evolutionary for being useless. At first, he mistakes Spidey for a threat, but they eventually team up and fight side by side. Although it was confusing if you hadn't been following the storyline, showing us a Green Goblin that works alongside Spider-Man was an interesting and original idea. Anyway, in the final episode, yep, the one with the cliffhanger, we finally find out what Venom and Carnage are doing on Counter-Earth. Turns out they're working for the Synaptic, a group of symbiotes allied with a high evolutionary. Their big plan is to release millions of symbiotes onto the planet to take over all life forms. Spider-Man, Goblin, and the rest show up to stop them, but it's too late. The symbiotes are already being released, and then, nothing. Roll credits forever. But here's the shocking thing. The cliffhanger was never meant to be resolved. Let me ask you a question. If Fox Kids really believed in this show, why did they only order 13 episodes from Saban? Maybe because they didn't believe in it. Maybe because it was made out of obligation, and it all traces back to Marvel. You see, the original idea wasn't even about Spider-Man coexisting with the Thundercats' cousins. It was something way more Spidey. Saban originally pitched a show based on the first 26 issues of The Amazing Spider-Man, you know, the classics. But Marvel's response was, no way, we already have Toby on board. Okay, allow me to explain. Marvel had just signed a deal with Sony to make the first Spider-Man movie, which would be based on those exact early issues. So, because of rights, Saban just wasn't allowed to use them. Not only that, but they weren't even allowed to use the classic Spider-Man suit, which is why they had to come up with a completely new design. One with a cape, for some reason. Marvel handed Saban a list of very specific requirements for the new show, which mostly included pretty obscure characters with a couple more recognizable names, like Venom or John Jameson. Plus, they insisted the show be set on Counter-Earth. So, one of the producers at Saban pitched a pretty cool idea. Peter accidentally ends up on Counter-Earth, and to find a way back home, he tries to team up with that planet's version of himself. But there's a twist. In this world, Uncle Ben never died, so Counter-Earth Peter lacked the moral fortitude to resist Venom and ended up bonding with him. Sounds way better than what we got, right? So what happened? Everyone at Saban loved the idea. The show even started production, but then Marvel got wind of it and freaked out. You see, they already tried the two Peter Parkers thing in the comics during the Clone Saga, and fans hated it. The problem in the comics was never really the two Peters, but rather a convoluted story that didn't make much sense. But Marvel didn't get that. Marvel was so afraid of playing with two Peters again that they shut the idea down immediately. That left Saban scrambling, racing against the clock to build an entirely new story that ticked every Marvel box while tossing out the heart of the idea they had fallen in love with. And that's how we ended up with this bizarre mix of nanotech suits and furry politics. But why go through all that trouble if nobody really cared about the show? Why even make it? One word: rights. Back in 1994, Marvel and Fox teamed up to create Spider-Man the Animated Series, a 5-season home run. The show was great and everybody loved it. People magazine even called it one of the best animated comic book adaptations of all time. To which, I'm not sure how much authority People magazine has when it comes to animated comic book adaptation, but hey, I'll take it. When that series ended, Fox still wanted to milk it, as reruns meant big ratings, which meant a lot of money. But there was a catch. The contract with Marvel said that Fox could only keep airing reruns of the series if they produced at least one season of a new Spider-Man show. Fox didn't care about making a new series, but they really wanted those reruns. So they hired Saban, gave them the tiniest budget possible, and told them to make something. It didn't even have to be good. Saban really tried to craft something worthy, but the budget and time were abysmal. They did the best they could with the limited resources they had, ending up with a low-budget, bad show that was quickly forgotten. But ironically, it achieved exactly what it was meant to, letting us watch reruns of Spider-Man the Animated Series for years to come. And for that, we salute you, Spider-Man Unlimited. You fulfilled your duty. Did you like Spider-Man Unlimited? If you do, hit that like button and let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more. Dr. Panda out. Remember Lunatics? That forgotten show that turned the Looney Tunes into anime superheroes. I made a video about it and you can check it out right here.